and solving problems. If we were put in an environment where everyone can speak and understand the struggles that we have so that people can understand them, we could have a community where dyslexic people are more appreciated than not. I had a friend a very long time ago who I was also in the same school with that I was discovered that I had dyslexia, and his dyslexia was way worse because he couldn't read nor could he comprehend numbers, but he was very good at understanding and looking at shapes. Now, in a normal circumstance, a person will say that person, cannot, function in a normal society, maybe because, numbers and letters and words are things that are there in our everyday lives. But this person went on and became one of the best composers that I know at the moment. And he composes music for movies and for other commercials, only because he focused on one thing that he's good at, understanding shapes. And for him, reading notes, musical notes to him came very easy. And that was only because he was told, maybe explore this avenue, because he was given a space to speak, and he said, oh, I can't understand this, but this makes sense. And the person with awareness understood that this could be the best avenue for you. We need to create a community in Africa and East Africa that makes people understand that for me, struggling in school is not my fault, but it's just that I am different enough and I can still be helped and overcome the challenges that I have. I have been able to live with this to a point that sometimes I'll say that I forgot even I had the issue because I have been able to cope and move on the same way. But there's still sometimes that I struggle. I struggle to read things. I struggle to comprehend things as fast as I would want because I am tired. But still, given where I was about 10 years ago and where I am right now, it's completely different. And it only took one person to understand that, hey, it's not your fault. Let's explore this side. And that's something that a lot of people lack. A lot of teachers lack, and a lot of guidance counselors in East Africa and Africa in general lack, because we have all been wired to one system of education, and that one system has favored a lot of people, but also has not favored majority of us. And as I am wrapping up, things that I have discovered that has helped me, as I said before, it's patience. Be patient. Being patient with myself is something that has helped me a lot. It has never been easy to fully grasp something. It took me a lot of time after what I can right now to actually understand myself and to understand everything else. So if there is anyone here that is struggling in the same way, or you have sons and daughters and friends that are struggling with the same way, be patient with them and teach them to be patient with themselves, because when they give up early, it will be very hard for them to recover from that. When they feel defeated, it will be very hard for them. Every single time that I got a report card saying that I got an F, it broke my heart, but it also gave me a reason to keep going. And it was helped because my parents were like, it's fine. It's just a grade. You're smart enough. Those kind of words helped me. When I failed and the teachers were really, really beating me up, I came home one day because a lot of teachers decided to punish me at once, and I got ill from that. And my dad was like, it is fine. Just stay at home for a while, keep reading what you're reading, and go back to school. It is okay. He never made me feel that I was inferior. He never made me feel that I was useless, even if it was true. At that particular point, all the school fees that they were trying to pay for me in primary school and the little that they were paying in secondary school, it was of course going to waste, but he never made me feel that way. My mother never made me feel that way, although all the teachers in school made me feel that same way. But at least I went home to a place where they understood that it is not my fault. but also they never really knew what dyslexia was. They just knew that, well, our child is going to be okay one day, but they never really knew that, oh, Ibra has dyslexia. No, they did not. But they just were patient with me because they were like, one day something good is going to come out of you. And that automatically I inherited that patient, and I became patient with myself because I was like, okay, fine, everyone else does not see me, but at least my parents see me, and that was okay with me. So if you have a son, if you have a daughter that is going through the same thing and they're struggling in school, I can assure you for a fact it is not their fault. Be patient with them. Automatically, they will be patient with themselves, and they'll find something that they're so good at that it is going to outshine everything else that they have gone through. Thank you so much.
Wow, wow. Can we give some flowers to Ibra? He's really shared some very personal story that has touched me as a parent also going through the same. So let's appreciate Ibra. You could do whatever, emoji or clap hands. It takes a lot of confidence, and it takes a lot of actually courage to share personal stories like these ones. Ibra, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I see there is a comment from Koki. Reminder for educators: give room and opportunity to children to be creative and be problem solvers. Thank you. And I just wanted to echo something that Ibra has shared. Basically, if you're not joining for the first time, my son has dyslexia. And when Ibra was talking, I felt guilty because as a parent, before I understood dyslexia, I had a very, I was very harsh on my son. I wanted him to perform. In my innocence, I pushed him beyond what he could perform. And this is this is not good. Like you hear Ibra says, at least when the educators in school were not understanding, he went back to loving parents who supported him. And now Ibra is really successful. I just want to tell you, Ibra, that your presentation is one of the most interesting one. And we've really learned a lot, I'm sure. There's Gisela saying, thank you, Ibra, for the wonderful presentation. Ibra, the best presenter. I know, I agree. And Veronica says, thank you, presenter. So I'm going to, Ibra, there are very important things that you've mentioned, that nobody wakes up in the morning and goes to school to fail. Everybody is positive. They're going to study. But what happens when we get to schools and meet teachers who are not aware of dyslexia? And one thing that I have come to understand from the workshops we do with teachers, friends, some teachers are totally innocent. They don't do it knowing they are hurting a student. Some are totally innocent because many a times in our workshops, some teachers actually shed tears that they remember so-and-so must be having dyslexia and see how mean I have been with this student. And so that's why we take it, we make sure we continue spreading awareness. And I love the fact that you had somebody who believed in you, and now the turning point. Friends, recently I met Ibra at a very big conference, and Ibra was in charge of all the social media things, all the organization of the tickets. Ibra did a lot of work at that conference, and that's where I met Ibra. And in our discussions, I discovered that he's dyslexic. And honestly, to say the truth, I didn't believe him because of the work he had done in that conference. Basically, Ibra did a lot of work to make sure that conference works because it was bringing together 14 countries with 90 participants from these countries, and Ibra made sure each participant had a flight, had accommodation, and he did a job that is beyond expectations. So you see, and being a software engineer, it means even if you have dyslexia, even if you have a child who has dyslexia, it's possible to make it in life when you have a supporting community. We just need to be kind with each other, because not everyone has to be a doctor, not everyone has to be a lawyer. Let's look at the strengths of other people and support them. Let me read these comments. I see there are 3 messages. Kwandu says, thank you, Ibra. You have opened my eyes more than ever before. Thank you, Kwandu. We are always learning. And once we learn, we have to make sure we use the information we've achieved. I see Shishi says, such an inspiring story. It's so motivating to hear such stories. Thank you, Shishi. And Kalongo says, nimekuwa nikitiza YouTube zenu na mafunzo ya watoto walio na changamoto yamenielimisha haswa. Mchanganuzi anayeitwa Dr. Vincent kama yupo hapa, heko kwa mafunzo yake. Unfortunately, Dr. Vincent is not here today. I know he lost his mother. So sorry for that. That's why he's not here today. But we will pass the message. Thank you so much. There's another message saying, I loved learning that room for patients is supposed to be both ways. We have been taught to be patient with kids with specific learning difficulties. But today we are learning that we should also be teaching them to also be patient with themselves and normalizing giving people time, both for neurodivergent and neurotypical minds. I'm in a very noisy environment, so I can't say this loud. Asante sana. Thank you, Koki. Actually, yes. I love that point as well, that you learn to be patient with yourself, and also other people have to learn to be patient with you. Thank you so much, Koki, and thank you, Ibra, for that. I'm welcoming questions. Anybody who is willing to speak. I see another message from Jackson. Can we turn this story into a podcast? Someone is asking if we can turn the story into a podcast. Ibra, do you allow us to do that? You will answer that because I'll give you a chance towards the end. Is there anyone who would like to say something? Kwandu says, I have learned that dyslexia is about learning differently and not a disability. Kwandu, that's correct. It's about learning differently and not a disability. Is there anyone who would like to say something? The floor is open. You just unmute or you raise your hand and I'll give you a chance to speak. As we wait for someone to speak, I learned something from Ibra that says he's very good at other things like mathematics, and he struggles in other areas. And this brings us to the meaning of dyslexia. Is there anybody in our meeting today who's going to tell us more about dyslexia? What is dyslexia according to you? Ibra has put it very practical, very well, but is there somebody who can contribute towards what dyslexia is? Maybe to give us a simple definition of dyslexia. You can type or unmute yourself and speak. Okay. So I see nobody speaking. It's fine. Maybe people are typing. That's fine. So dyslexia for me is a learning difference. It's a specific learning difficulty. You can struggle in a certain area, maybe 1 or 2. Like Ibra said, the other person was struggling in more areas. So this brings us to the fact that dyslexia is a spectrum in the sense that we can both have dyslexia, but we have different preferences in terms of learning. Maybe I'm struggling with one thing and you're struggling with totally a different thing. So that's what it means that dyslexia is a spectrum. And dyslexia is a specific learning difficulty. You don't have to struggle in all areas. You can struggle in just one area. I don't know if we have anybody in our midst. Today, I want to appreciate, I saw another board member of Dyslexia Tanzania. She's called Rahma. Unfortunately, she's dropped off the call. So Rahma is also a board member of Dyslexia Tanzania. And Rahma is one very brilliant mind, and she also has dyslexia. Friends, when you come to understand dyslexia, you will be amazed at how many people have dyslexia that you know, and you might not know specifically that they have dyslexia, but dyslexia is very much common. It's more common than we think. So in our dyslexia board, we have quite a number of people who have dyslexia, and one of them was in the meeting today. I see she dropped out. She dropped off, I think. Maybe network, maybe not, I don't know. But she dropped, she's not in the meeting anymore. So dyslexia, some research says 1 out of 10, 1 out of 5. So there are actually many people with dyslexia in our midst, and we just need to be kind and learn how we can support them. I see a question. A question for Ibrahim. Ibrahim, there's a question for you. After discovering that you have dyslexia, what did your parents or school do differently to help you, especially in choosing a career path? Ibra, you help us answer that question.
Thank you, Koki. Okay, let's see. I'm going to put this in a very simple way. They didn't do anything because they did not really understand. And at the point where it wasn't, because first that, yes, the school, after I came back to the original school that I was, where they did not have the awareness, because remember that I found out that I have dyslexia somewhere else, and I came back to the school after a year and a half. So when I came back, I really didn't know how to put it, especially to the school, that, oh, I have a learning disability or I have a learning issue. No, I didn't really put it in that way. But rather, afterwards, there is an initiative that I did, which I'll talk about it after some few, on how I helped that school a little bit. But in other words, for my parents, I told them, and to be fair, they didn't really understand that, okay, so whatever you have has a name, okay. They were just like, as long as you figured out how to do it, it is okay. So to them, they really didn't, they didn't really, fully understand and act different towards me. It's just that my parents were like, we knew that there's nothing really wrong with you, and we knew that it's not that you don't put efforts. They just kept thanking God that I finally understood how to live with whatever I have. So to them, they were just happy. For the school now, so after I got that, and I took a very long time to learn that, and I was done with Form 4. Between the time I was done with Form 4 before I went to Form 5, I created an initiative, and I didn't really term it that it was helping dyslexic people. No, I just understood that what the gap is in our education system, and that gap is to understand that a person has a learning disability. So we created a system, my friends and I, and the whole idea of that was to detect if a student has a learning disability. And that did not only stop at only dyslexia or any learning disability. We were exploring everything that makes a student not perform to the potential that they can. And that did not limit to, it did not limit to dyslexia, it did not limit to any other form of disability. It was in search of also environmental issues, family trauma, normal trauma that they have gone through in their lives. Just basically anything that can hinder a person from learning the same way that they were meant to learn. And that is the system that we developed so that it could help those students. And the pilot project was specifically in our school because I had already seen a lot, and basically based on the students that I had already known that I studied with them throughout, I had known that, okay, this person has a learning disability and this person is just having trauma from other things, but they don't really have learning disability. So what I did is not what the school could have done for me, but it is what I did for the school. It's that I tried helping them understand that these students need to be taught slightly different and care them slightly different so that you can also accommodate them. And these students need to be done in this way. So I would proudly saw that that could be the use case of my knowledge rather than having people helping me, because I had already overcome that. I did not need the help. I just needed to help other people that don't really know. And I never termed people that have dyslexia. No, I just told them, by the way, you'll make better efforts if you focus on this. You'll make better efforts if you focus on this instead of this. And the school really did improve. I it We were having a very high failure structure, but after some time, after a year and a half, that was when I was finishing Form 6 and now about to do my university. The school had a failure rate of just 0.1%. So we did not have we only had one Fs or two Fs rather than having 42 to 43 or 45. And I believe that it was because now the teachers were not aware that it was dyslexia, no, but they did understand that every student in a classroom cannot learn the same way. And teaching them the same way is unfair to others. And that is basically what I did for them. But nothing really changed when I was in class, because at that particular point, I was almost transitioning to finishing Form 4. So I tried helping the ones that are coming behind to at least help out. The project is not fully operational. It is only working in that specific school because there's a lot of moving parts in terms of understanding exactly which learning structure it is. But to change a whole learning structure is going to take time. And we are still working with seeing how we can make that more effective in other schools in the same district only. Thank you.
Wow, wow. You're selfless to have helped that school find us a way to help other students who are struggling with learning due to various reasons. That's really good. Imagine if everyone could do something to help our society. We could be far by now. So thank you, Ibra, for sharing that. I see another question. I hope, Koki, you answered. I see Shishi saying to me, dyslexia is a learning difference that mainly affects reading, spelling, and writing. It's not related to intelligence. People with dyslexia can be very bright and creative, but their brains process written language differently, making it harder to recognize words, decode sounds, and spell accurately. Thank you, Shishi. And Gisela says dyslexia for me means a person's brain simply has a different way of understanding different things. I'd say different operating system. Wow, Gisela, that's a good way. Mukine Joachim says to me, I understand as a neurological syndrome that affects.
Unajua venye alikuwa anatuambia tuko wana believing Pastor Ezekiel.
Sorry for that, I've muted her. So yeah, someone is asking Ibra, is the operating system, someone wanted to ask, can we turn, okay, not that. I saw another question, I'm not sure where it's disappeared to. Someone was saying if you can, no. There was another question I think I saw, not sure where. Okay, any other input? We have about 10 minutes to go. Any other input, friends? This has been quite amazing to learn that the system, the initiative you developed really improved the performance of the school. And there were fewer Fs compared to previously. I would love to collaborate with you on this, Ibra. I'm sure we can talk behind the scenes to see how we can help more schools maybe technology can make it easier to have this particular system. I mean, in other schools, because we really need it. I'm struggling. Even after founding Dyslexia Tanzania, I still struggle with my son, and it's not easy. The system is not really, it's not easy to maneuver, especially with the way it's made to just look at the performance of those who do not have dyslexia. I see. Thank you for your honest answer on that. You are an inspiration to many of us who find ourselves at that point of what do we do now? That's Koki. Thank you, Koki. Really, yeah, I agree. Ibra has been an inspiration. Does therapy help a child with dyslexia? Gladys Kemboy is asking, does therapy help a child with dyslexia? What do you think, Ibra?
To be honest, yes, I believe it does. And therapy does not really have to mean, going to a therapist or a psychologist. You can also have just therapy at home, because the whole idea of therapy is for the person going to therapy to be more aware of their situation and to make them accept who they are and to move forward. So if you're going to therapy for any issue, the therapist doesn't really diagnose you. No. They make you aware that, okay, by the way, when you're going through this and you act like this, it is because of this. So to fix it is because of 1, 2, 3. So yes, you can take a person to therapy so that they can be more aware and accept themselves if they have dyslexia. But for me, I believe, and it goes to a lot of other people, having someone who you already know, for example, a parent, it is more therapeutic than going to a professional therapist, because first of all, getting adapted to a therapist might take some time, especially given the age of that person. It will take them time for that person to be, for that child, let's say, to be more comfortable to speak to a new person. But, a parent, a mother, a father, a sister, a brother, they are more easy to have a conversation out of that child rather than a whole new stranger. It's easy to talk to them. It is easy for them to give you honest replies of how they actually feel. So until it's absolutely necessary, if you already have the understanding that you are